Hello and welcome. This is our discussion for Chapter 3 of Human Resources Management. I thought I'd do something a little differently this week in that I'd like to talk a little bit about Chapter 3, specifically certain pages, certain items. And so it would be a good time to have your textbook out and highlight some of the things that I'm talking about. And so what I would like you to do is have your textbook out while you're watching this video and kind of go along in your textbook as I talk about some things, because I'm going to highlight some things that I feel are very important. This chapter deals with a lot of laws, a lot of legislation, and it can be kind of confusing. And so I want to highlight some extremely important ones that we're going to talk about and that you'll probably see on a test a little bit later on. So again, let's look at Chapter 3. Chapter 3, the title is Equal Employment Opportunity and Human Resources Management. And again, it deals mostly with various laws. One of the first things I want you to look at is on page 101, and it talks a little bit about how we got to where we are presently, especially with laws. And what happens is our national values change, and as they do, laws are enacted to help preserve or protect certain rights, certain privileges of its citizens. And those relate to civil rights, discrimination rights, non-discrimination rights, and so on. And so page 101 talks a little bit about the changing national values. So be sure to read through that. And then if you look on beginning on page 102 and 103, begins the discussion about the various laws. And one of the first laws that was passed was the Equal Pay Act of 1963. And what this does is make sure that the wages between men and women were the same. Now we know that there might still be some issues related to that, but the Equal Pay Act helps to equalize that. And then one of the big ones at the bottom of page 103 and on page 104 and even 105 deal with the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And this is that discrimination is prohibited based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. It's extremely important. Again, we're not supposed to discriminate based on that, and we're supposed to not discriminate when hiring based on those items. And if you look on page 104, I find this pretty interesting. You might take the quiz there to see how you answer and see how many you get right. The answers are actually in the back of the chapter at the end of this chapter. Take a look at it, and you can go through and see what you make. It's great to do it at the end of the chapter. On the top of page 105 is a nice figure detailing the specific laws that are summarized in this chapter, and I would definitely use that as a guide when you're studying. Now, a couple of other things that we talk about is on 108, page 108, age discrimination of 1967, that you can't discriminate based on age. So we've passed laws so far not discriminating against various civil classes, and now we're not discriminating against age. And then you have another law that is the Pregnancy Discrimination Act of 1978 that helps to prevent discrimination about those that are pregnant. And then one of the big laws more recently was in 1990, and this was the Americans with Disabilities Act. And this simply says that we're not to discriminate with those that are disabled in some fashion or some form. And what I think is important to note is if you look on page 110, there's a group that the ADA does not cover, and those include homosexual or bisexuality, gender identity, compulsive gambling, psychoactive substance use disorders, current illegal use of drugs, or infectious or communicable diseases. So actually those classes of people are not protected by ADA. So if you're gay, if you're have issues with gender identity, if you're a compulsive gambler, then you technically can be discriminated against. You can be hired, you could be fired. Now it's gotten a lot tougher in the last few years because of societal changes, but based on law, there is no protection for those groups of people listed on page 110. And then talking more about ADA, if you look on page 112, there is a diagram that talks a little bit about how to make your ADA or your office area more ADA accessible. And you've noticed this, wheelchair ramps being put in place, specific handicapped or disabled bathrooms in restaurants and stores, the bars on the walkways in the restrooms. Those kinds of things are all because of ADA and providing the same level of service and access to those that may have issues than those that don't. And so that's why you see all of that. And then some other items, Vocational Rehabilitation Act of 1973, you can't discriminate against disabled individuals receiving federal financial assistance. There was an executive order that, again, strengthens being able to not discriminate against people based on religion, sex, or national origin. And then there's some other things. On page 116, it gets a little bit more into detail about sexual harassment, and I would definitely have you pay careful attention to page 116, 117, and 118, 119, and so on, because this will really help you to better understand sexual harassment, especially if you look at page 118. This is actually an activity that lets you sort of try to ascertain whether something can be considered sexual harassment or not. So definitely take a look at page 118, the survey, so you have a better understanding about what is sexual harassment and what is not. Now, continuing on our discussions, let's look at page 124, 125. This is really dealing with enforcing equal employment opportunity legislation and how those are done through various forms, records, documents, surveys. For instance, on page 127, there's the EEO-1 survey that employers have to fill out dealing with equal employment and those sorts of things. And then there's also an example of a poster on page 129 that deals with the EEOC and the Equal Employment Opportunity Law, and it tells you that you can't be discriminated against based on this, and this. And then on page 133, it talks a little bit about diversity management and diversifying or dealing with a diverse workforce. And what has happened in the last 20, 30 years is that we have an extremely diverse workforce now. We have people of all races, we have various backgrounds, lifestyles, and so we have to be mindful of those kinds of things. Probably where you work, you have people that maybe don't share the same religious beliefs as you, or maybe have different other types of lifestyles or any other kinds of things. And so it's different trying to deal with some of those issues. And so that objective 8 on page 133, 134, 135, and then finishing up on page 136 really kind of helps you to put it in perspective about how to deal with people of varying backgrounds, because it is really important. One of the examples I like to use is when dealing with age. A lot of times the more experienced or older people have supervisors that are younger, and so it's extremely important for those younger supervisors to be able to understand the more experienced or the older folks so that they can better manage and supervise them. It really is extremely important to do that. We have an extremely diverse work environment, and so it helps to have a background and understanding of those. And so that's what that Objective 8 in the last few pages of the chapter deals with. So good luck this week. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, or you can post them in the discussion board. Be sure to read all of the assignment directions carefully. And again, I'm here for questions. If you have them, please let me know. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.